Your insecurities are making you annoying. I know this is hard to hear and seems insensitive, but a lot of people need to hear the harsh truth. You have to realize how your insecurities are coming off to other people. I've always had this back and forth relationship with invisibility. Sometimes I wanted to be invisible and would hide from the spotlight. Other times I was sad because people wouldn't acknowledge or remember me. When I was in college, my production company logo for my film and animation projects was Afterthought Productions. Throughout my life, I lamented that people realized I was gone only after I came back. My presence wasn't big enough to be missed. Even my big sister name in my sorority was Big Sister Ninja Vanish because I'm accidentally really stealthy. When I'm coming up behind people, I purposely start stumping so I don't scare them. There are a lot of examples that can explain this, but I'll tell the story that started me on the journey of fixing my relationship with my insecurities. As I've mentioned before, I was heavily involved in the National Urban League movement for about 10 years. Every year, I would attend different conferences, whether it was the national conference or regional conferences. I would be cordial, meet new people, get to know them, become Facebook friends, the whole gamut. Because I had this perspective of being invisible, when I would go to these conferences, I didn't think people remembered me. I did have my crew of people from different chapters that I would hang out with, but outside of that, I just knew I was a ghost to everyone else. I would see people from afar and not say hi because I didn't think they recognized me. After a while, I had this realization that I was essentially doing to them what I thought was being done to me, and thus unintentionally coming off as rude. It was distressing. I always strived to be a nice person, so the thought of my insecurities making others feel invisible made me wish I could do all of these interactions over again. Another story I honestly had to look back on after several years to see how my desire to not be embarrassed kept me from connecting with others. When I was in college, I lived in the most coveted on-campus apartments, UC. They were close to the academic side of campus, so you could walk instead of driving. My routine included passing through one of the apartment buildings to get to the walkway that led to my apartment. Now, it's important to note that all the buildings look similar except for the different paint on the outside. So one day I'm cutting through and I end up going into the apartment that would have been mine had I been in the right building. When I open the door, I see a white guy and a white girl fixing a coffee table they had flipped over in the living room. This is relevant because I lived with all Black women. This did not deter me. I cut to the left and walked to what would have been my room if I had been in the right apartment. I guess I finally saw something that told me that I was in the wrong place and proceeded to leave. They asked me if I was looking for someone and I just told them the person wasn't there. Do you know it took me 7 years to be able to tell that story? My perfectionism and insecurities made it something I felt I couldn't share. And as you can tell, it really wasn't that deep. That mentality prevented me from connecting with others. In certain parts of Black American culture, it's customary to share embarrassing stories about yourself and allow people to laugh at you and with you. At the time, I couldn't handle people laughing at me. In addition to being a super private person back then, my connections weren't as deep as they could have been. The last story I'll mention is from my time working in the animation industry and how someone else's insecurities had a different effect than what was intended. I had a manager who was always asking questions. They would do this in our team meetings or come to me in a private chat. It was always under the guise of making sure. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. I just want your thoughts on this. Because they were my manager, I'd wonder, why are you asking me? I'm pretty sure they made more than me to be in this position, so why am I helping you make leadership decisions? It made them look unqualified, not thorough. Trying to seem competent from asking so many questions had the opposite effect. So what's the root cause of all of this? We fear being judged, we fear being misunderstood, we fear being seen as incapable. And for different people, it can also come from childhood trauma, which is very valid. But we have to consider how our insecurity reads to others versus how it feels to us. Things like over-apologizing or over-explaining are unnecessary. When I'm teaching or mentoring students, I get on them about over-apologizing. Sorry if this is a dumb question. Sorry for taking up too much time. Sorry for not understanding this. Stop it! You deserve to have the space to not know something. It doesn't make you less than, particularly when you're a student. It's literally the perfect excuse to ask all the questions you want. Even when I start a new job, I know I have a good 3 to 6 months when no one will question why I'm asking questions, because I'm new here. Why would I already know this stuff? You should not be apologizing for things that don't require remorse. There's a difference between accountability and over-apologizing. It diminishes your authority, especially when you enter the workforce. Apologizing constantly seems humble, even polite, but over time, it leaves a different impression. When you apologize for everything, you're indirectly making other people responsible for soothing your insecurities. Every "I'm sorry" becomes a demand for reassurance. You're outsourcing your emotional regulation to others. It will seem like you're fishing for validation, and people will become exhausted and stop taking you seriously. It can also cause your work to be second-guessed. Over time, it can be perceived as emotional manipulation, even if that's not your intention. Clarity moves you forward, validation keeps you in place. So what's our activity? This week, I want you to track every time you ask a question you already know the answer to, apologize when you didn't do anything wrong, explain something that didn't need explaining, and seek reassurance for something you're already competent at. Don't judge yourself, just observe. Ask, is this for clarification or validation? At the end of the week, look back at your list. For each entry, ask, what was I afraid of in the moment? What would have happened if I had just stopped? Who was I trying to protect? Myself? Someone else? My reputation? After you make your assessment, choose one behavior and practice the opposite. See what changes. Instead of "sorry for asking this," use "thank you for your patience." Rather than saying "I'm sorry to take up space," say "I appreciate you listening." As opposed to "I'm sorry if this is dumb," try "I have a thought I want to share." Stop apologizing for existing. You have a right to be here no matter what your origin story is or what other people have convinced you of. The people around you are not thinking of you in the same way you're thinking of yourself. They're focused on their own work and their own insecurities. Competence shows up in execution, not explanation. This call out is about growth, not shame. You can unlearn these patterns. It starts with noticing that you're doing it. The goal is to stop being your own obstacle. Becoming you is a daily practice, who you choose to become today. This marks the ending of Unlearning, Module 2 of the Becoming You series, where we broke free from old scripts. In Video 5, we discussed the perfectionism trap and delivered ourselves from analysis paralysis. In Video 6, I went from yes woman to finding my own voice and graduating from what others thought I could do to what I knew I could do. In Video 7, we talked about when your ambition doesn't fit the mold and setting your sights on spaces others can't see you in. In Video 8, we worked through when our normal is other people's overachieving and the strategy of being a go-getter. In Video 9, we reframed our intelligence as a tool, not a performance, using our knowledge for connection, not alienation. And in Video 10, we covered how your insecurities are making you annoying, prioritizing clarification over validation. In the next module, we're going to be embracing the messy middle. See you there.